Timashumi lamabili nakubili solo-ke sikuyo inyanga yeNdlovana umnyaka ngo-2024. Siyanibusela namhla ekuseni siyanamukela eluhlelweni Kusile Breakfast Show. Libito lami nguSifiso Nxumalo. Azike ngihambi ngedwa ngihamba naMphombeni Lungelele. Kusile.
Kusile, ngiphilile. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. Can't complain.
Yeah, sekusele nje amalanga linye ukuthi singene kumphela Sonto ngicanga ukuthi sele siyithokodele iweekend. Ngaloko ukuthi phele isikhathi lapho siphumula khona because we're here every day Monday to Friday. So the weekend is for resting.
But we are still anticipating to see Invonaite Mafa near Reichenberg tabling the budget speech amaphakelo esukwini lakusasa, and I think nasikhuluma ngempela sonto, that's the topic of conversation, because if you think about it, a lot of weekend attractions kulamalanga ngibo buganu ceremony umkhosi wobuganu kunengwenyama cup nayo lesesemile kancane nyalo ke sibuke nayi i-budget speech. Of course, other developments like the MTN Premier League and other, sporting developments laba khona ngempela sonto, we still are excited for those ones, but leti topical kuvame kuba ngilethi sokusasa sigatse ukuthi Invonaite Mafa yethule maphakela indzaba lesikhulumisile nakucala liviki lena na-senior journalist LinkedIn kule. So we are hoping ukuthi a lot of the projections that the different ministries, the different civil society organizations, the different youth groups lasebasiphe imivo yabo nema-anticipations abo ukuthi indeed they will be met. It has been discussed many times ukuthi as he tables his budget speech, next to his budget speech, kufuna kube ngiso speech from the throne, and some of those recommendations and pronouncements that are on the speech from the throne need to reflect on the budget speech, as well as address some of the imivo yesiveleveli nasesibayeni nakutotonga nje tinto letendekako lapha even economically and otherwise. But on today's program, an exciting program, Lungelele, an avid watcher of Eswatini TV should know now ukuthi esukwini la itolo we did launch our brand new programs lapha Eswatini TV, and there was a lot of excitement. It was launched at Gables, a movie zone with a lot of stakeholders that's now lapha Eswatini TV. So it was exciting to see logo kushintshiselana kwe information and engagements that happened there, but more than anything the excitement of the new programs that we have, and I think you can attest to some of these programs, Lungelele, because you are in the driver's seat yourself.
Yeah, we're all excited, including the CEO, management, and kanye staff. Koguti silonchile finally these new programs, and also exciting during the event to go over Koguti Ekaya season 2 year this year definitely. Itabe ikona Eswatini TV, and the producer Welile see a trailer, and it looks interesting. As I said, my fans ayo Ekaya itabe ikatsi awakatsile ukuthi itodlala khona lapha ekhaya Eswatini TV, and also maningi lamanye programs lamashala launchiwe itolo Sifiso, including program lebukete amabhizinisi lesiyendawo Business Watch powered by Netbank, as well as Market View nayo lebukete onatinza about amabhizinisi, and program ya LinkedIn kule lethiwa lebitwa ngekuthi asakhe kwethu. Yes, there's plenty programs lasukunyisiwe itolo, so please do make sure you watch Eswatini TV. Ngalokuthi ke nasi satholakala ku YouTube akudinga ukuthi uhlale embikwe TV, so you can just watch these programs on your phone.
Yeah, we also have the application, Eswatini TV. But like you are saying, some of the most exciting programs, Market View, Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Namuhlanje sikatsile ukuthi kube the Market View at 2 p.m. For 30 minutes up until 2:30 p.m. Every Wednesday, there's a Business Watch, and one could argue and make a case. Those are some of the most exciting programs that we have, Eswatini TV, and of course, one of the programs is sponsored. It's powered by Netbank. A lot of excitement around those programs. But we will watch a show reel. Let us Kombisa a comprehensive overview of all the programs that we have later on the program. Magu kabanga insimbi yesitfupha asingagitsela ligogweni kulendaba lena Lungelele, but batibonela nyalo ke sesibuke tihloko lethamba embili emaphephandzabeni elive Eswatini Observer ne-Eswatini Daily News.
Alright, sasiqala sibuke Eswatini Observer sibuka leto letihamba embili lomuhla. As leading headlines, the Bacete pleads for leniency. He asks judge to be motherly when passing sentence and to consider his beautiful wives, 16 children, relatives, and his mother. He says over 500 people are suffering after his shops were closed. The king has blessed the green shirt mine ngumsebenzi kulona lochubeke elangeni la Itolo. Kuletinye thamba imbili TBO ABF Sugar Ubombo commits to resolving industry challenges and 4 COVID-19 cases have been reported.
Demidlalo Eswatini Observer this Thursday morning. The leading story there, 2025 AFCON qualifiers. Somalia mean business. Captain believes they can beat Sihlangu. What a joke. Sihlangu Semnikati's next opponents in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. Somalia are not wasting any time in gearing up for the clash, having already started their training camp. On another one, Sihlangu squad to be named this week. That's a very exciting one. Curious members of the public will be relieved to learn that the senior men national team's technical team will announce the squad to face Somalia. We can still win the league, according to Caleb. Mbabane Swallows head coach believes they are amongst the favorites to win this year's MTN Premier League title.
All right, move on to the Eswatini Daily News. Your leading headlines: Minister gives Sakalive JV 7 days to put its house in order. Kuletinye, King calls for more jobs in mining and tough times ahead for sinners. More on page 7.
Good Demidlalo, Eswatini Daily News, the big story, referees Excos VAR moment hit by a 42,000 Malangeni financial scandal. The remaining members of the Eswatini Referees Association Executive Committee to know their fate on Saturday following the resignation of Chairman Jabulani Motha and Treasurer Pindal Dlamini. Babane Highlanders unfreezes Enzo kanti-ke kusekugcina Tuchel to leave Bayern at the end of the season.
7 minutes after 6 ngileto lethamba imbili kumaphephandzaba etfu asithathe likhefu sibuye netindzaba teSwati. Sinimukele nathi tindzaba teSwati. Selisamhlaba sisivakashele indzawo yasenkomanzile ngaphansi komphakathi waseluvinjelweni lapho ingwenyama ibese ivakashela inkampani ye-Michael Lee Enterprises ngetemcebo waphansi.
Silo semhlaba sisesenzaweni yasenkomanzi ngaphansi kwemphakathi waseluvinjelweni siqoqelwe kabanti ngemisebenzi leqhubekako kulommango lefaya ekhathi umsebenzi longephansi kwelihlangothi letemcebo waphansi lo wenziwa yinkampani iMichael Lee Enterprises. Liphupho nemgomo wesilo semhlaba nesive semaswati wekuvusetela nekudlondlobalisa lihlangothile emamayini ufukula umnotho welive nekwakha amathuba emisebenzi liyafezeka njengoba inkampani ye-Michael Lee Enterprises lekhicita litshelele ngomcebo waphansi ikuleli kutawufula umnotho kutemcebo waphansi. Ekufikeni kwaso silo semhlaba semukelwe baphathi balenkampani. Ingwenyama bekathi isingethwe bamfa benkosi Ndvunankhulu welive netindvuna tembuso kanye nabo babetikhulu.
Of course, there were a lot of Eswatini also plays a very important part to establish this mine. But now that it has been fully established, even though I have not come officially to open it, I've come to launch it.
Silo semhlaba sithi siyathemba ukuthi lona msebenzi utawulizuza kakhulu live leSwatini. Umcondzisi wenkampani Michael Lee wethembisile ukuthi batimisele kuthuthukisa ummango waphindze wabonga ingwenyama ngekubethemba nekubanika lithuba lekusebenta. Lenkampani icashe sive lesisuka emiphakathini lethutane nalendzawo lesilikhulu kani luhlelo luthi kufuneka ukuthi kugcine kucashwe bantfu labadinkulungwane letintathu nengcenyele ngamakhulu lasihlanu 3.5. Lo msebenzi ubheke ukuthi uqhamuke nentuthuko lefa ekhathi kwakhiwa kwelidolobha lelitawuba nemafemu latawukhicita imikhicito lehlukene ngalelitshe kanye nemigwaco letawuba ngulesesimeni lesikahle. Etintsabeni bikapholile Maziya etintsabeni tasemalolitsha esifundzeni sakaHoho.
Umhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Dlamini ukhuthata emaswati ukuthi alifunze futhi aluphakamise lulwimi lwesiswati.
Sanibonani maswati lamahle. Namhla lusuku lokugubha tilwimi temtsapho. Cela kunibingelela ke nikhuthate kulolusuku lolumcwa kangaka ukuthi siligubhe emndenini wethu siligubhe emsebenzini yethu. Lusuku luphakamisa tilwimi temtsapho ukuthi nato timqoka tingasilahlekeli. Lulwimi lweSwati ke njengalo lodwa lokulwimi lomtsapho evenda kangwane lumqoka kakhulu ngalo siyakhona ukukhulisa abantwana ngendlela esiswati sakithi luqukethe inhlonipho luqukethe ubuve bakithi asibafundiseni abantwana ukuthi batichenye ngelulwimi labo batichenye ngesive sabo. Ngiyafisela lusuku loluhle nisagubha lulwimi lomtsapho nifundisa futhi nebantwana. Uhulumende uyaladisa uyaliphakamisa ulwimi lwethu lweSiswati. Ngiyabonga.
Inhloso yokuniketa impilo lengcono bantfu labake bahlukubeteka nalabo labakhubatekile. Inhlangano lebukete kutalana kuleli United Nations Fund for Population Activities UNFPA ibambisene naletinye tinhlangothi letitsindzekako sabasukumise ngalokusemtsetfweni luhlelo lwahlonipheka. Liphini laNdvunankhulu umhlonishwa Kusile Dladla lebelimelelwe ngumabhalane lomkhulu ehhovisini eliphini laNdvunankhulu Melusi Masuku uthi lo hlelo lutawuletsa lithemba kulabo lebeselibahlahlekele ngetindzaba tekuhlukubetwa emakhaya etikolweni nasemimangweni.
Kulandzela kutsi linani lebantfu labahlukubetekako eveni libe ngu-22% eminyakeni lophelile. Lolu hlelo lwahlonipheka lufike esikhatsini lesikahle kakhulu kutowehlisa leli zinga lekuhlukubetana eveni. Lawa ngemagama eliphini laNdvunankhulu umhlonishwa Kusile Dladla lakawetfule ngeliphimbo lamabhalane lomkhulu etiko Melusi Masuku ngesikhatsi kusukunyiswa lolu hlelo ngalesitsatfu emahhovisi akamhlaba.
Focus yethu kakhulu ukubuka ukuthi nangabe sekutholakala lokho ukuthi kukhona losahlukubetekile asuswe lapho abeka khona ayogcina enzaweni letsite lengathi phecelezi mhlawumbe yi-safe house lapho khona tawukhona ukuthi akhona kuphila abe nawo onke nje malungelo lafanako as if ukhona ekhaya lakhe lapho abeka hlala khona. Lokukhulu kakhulu la lokufuna sikuconze ukuthi uhulumende ayedwana angeke akhona kufeza some of letifiso mhlawumbe lesingaba nato ukuthi sisite sive.
Lo nxusele livekati lalabamhlophe kuleli Her Excellency Desislava Shimelova kutsi uma bomake nalabakhubatekile banganakekeleka kahle live litawuthuthuka.
Empowered women are a guarantee of a more equal, just and prosperous society. And the same is valid for the other vulnerable group targeted by this intervention, people living with disability. I'm very pleased to see here representatives of organizations of people living with disability.
Lobuke lihhovisi lamhlabuhlangene letelubalo Margaret Twala uthi kukhona netimali letibekiwe letitawutfolwa ngulabo labahlukubetekile labatasebentisa kude batiphilise.
Lubukete tindzaba kete kokuthi impilo yemuntu lohlukubetiwe nemuntu lokhubatekile impilo yakhe ibe ngulengcono. Kufaka ke kwekuthi lusito loluthito lutawungetwa njengokuthi nje labakhubatekile ababe safe lalaba khona ngoba labanye bakhona bahlukubetwa kubede umlonakako ukuthi basitakala ngani.
Kuhlanyelwe imali lenganga 10 million letawusebenziswa kuchuba loluhlelo lwahlonipheka kanzi ke loluhlelo luhambisana nemigomo yakamhlaba nelive kucetha kuhlukubetana kungakashayi umnyaka wa 2030. Kubika pho kuhle Dlamini etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV ngisembabane.
Litiko letemabhizinisi livakashele ifema lesakhiwa yaka-Johnson Workwear lesenhlangano kubuka ukuthi lo msebenzi wokusukumisa lesakhiwo sowuhambe kanganani. Imfunelo litiko letemabhizinisi Manxoba Khumalo ithi le bhizinisi itawuvula amathuba emisebenzi kubantu labatinkhulungwane letimbili kepha itawucala ngekucasha labangemakhulu lamathathu.
Inkampani iJohnson Workwear lekhicita tinhlobo letahlukene tetimpahla tekusebenta itinte kakhulu even labomakhelwane eSouth Africa lapho inetitolo letingetulu kwama-20 kanzi iphindze isebentele naseven laseLesotho, Mauritius kubala kulambalwa. Le nkampani seyenabele nalapha even kanti lesakhiwo selifema lesisukunyiswako singu-21,875 square meters bukhulu. Lesitawubita imali lelinganiselwa ngetulu kwa-161 million wemalangeni kwakhiwa. Indvuna elitiko letemabhizinisi Manxoba Khumalo ithi lokujabulisa kakhulu ukuthi le nkampani ngeke ivule amathuba emisebenzi kuphela kepha emaswati atawutfola umsebenzi losezingeni.
I-investor lebesolo sikhulumisana nayo uthi icashe abantu labantu 2000 la kule live laKangwane khona la ehlangana. Namhla ke sitobuka lo msebenzi wabo lesiwenta sibambisene nahulumende sibheke ukuthi ke nga-August le firm bese seya handover ke iniketwa yena lo umnikati wale Johnson Workwear baqale ke kusebenta batawuqala kancane ke baqashe abantu laba 300 batraine kuze ukuthi baphindze baqashe labanye labatawutrainwa ngilaba lasebatrainekile baze bafike ke ku-2000. Leli phupho lengwenyama ukuthi emaswati onke aqashwe athole umsebenzi.
Umcondzisi wale nkampani Nick Johnson uyachaza ukuthi le nkampani itawucala nini kusebenta lapha eveni.
We're hoping that we'll start operating here in February or March next year, 2025. The long term is way more important for us. So we really take that view wherever we go. And it'll be no different here in Eswatini, but we're excited and we really are looking forward to getting going. So every person who's going to work in this facility needs to love coming to work every day. It's got to be the best factory to work for in Eswatini.
Johnson ucubeka uthi ngenhloso ekubeka impilo etisebenzi embili kulesakhiwo kutawuba nemtholampilo. Ngekusho kwembiko libhange lemhlaba lizinga lebantu labangasebenzi lapha eveni beliku 24.4% ngeminyaka wa 2022. Lobika ke tindzabeni eSwatini TV nguthando kuhle Mdluli ngisenhlangano.
Live laseSwatini lidzinga kucinisa indzaba yekwelekelela nekugcina imininingwane yekuhamba kwebantfu eveni kute live lithuthuke. Imfana bekhuluma ngesikhatsi yetfula umbiko welive ngekuhamba kwebantfu beceleti immigration profile lapho bekamelele khona ngumabhalane lomkhulu kuleli tiko Nhlanhla Nxumalo.
Litiko lasekhaya lihlanganise tinhlangosi letitsindzekako etindzabeni tekuphuma nekungena kwebantfu lapha eveni laseSwatini kwetfula umbiko walo welive laseSwatini wekucala ngca wekuphuma nekungena kwebantfu migration profile lohlanganiswe elive laseSwatini ngekusitwa inhlangano yakamhlaba lebuke kuhamba kwebantfu i-International Organization for Migration. Indvuna yetiko lasekhaya umhlonishwa umfana Nkosi Lindiwe lebekamele ngumabhalane lomkhulu kuleli tiko Nhlanhla Nxumalo uthi lo mbiko utawulisita kakhulu live kwakha imithetho nato tinhlelo tawubukela kuhamba nekuphuma kwengena kwebantfu lapha eveni.
The migration profile for Eswatini is an indispensable instrument that compiles the data required for evidence-based policy making and decision making regarding migration. It will also help us better grasp the role that remittances and diaspora plays in the growth of the country, as well as the larger effects of migration on Eswatini as a country of origin, transit and destination.
Lobukelo visi la kamhlaba kuleli George Wachira uthi live laseSwatini linenkinga lenayo njengoba tinombolo tebantfu labaphumako bahambe lapha eveni laseSwatini baye kulamanye emave linyenti kunalabo labangenako.
Current net migration for Eswatini in 2024, probably it's not in the report because the report is up to 2021, is negative 4.184 per 100,000 people, which represents a decline of 8.96% from 2023. So the concern here is that you are having more immigrants than immigrants.
Chwephesha lobambise live nalo litiko lasekhaya kuhlanganisa lo mbiko Mandla Mehlo uvetele eminye imbiko lemgcoka ngawo lo mbiko ekuphuma nekungena kwebantfu eveni.
Total overall over the years there were 3,003 undocumented persons within the country, with most of the people within the Kusile region. And we couldn't also establish what was the main reason Kusile would have more. Probably it's because the security forces within the Kusile region are actually enforcing the Immigration Act more as compared to the other region.
Tincomo tamhlahlangene kulomhlangano ukuthi live laseSwatini kumele lihlanganise luhlaka lelitawubuka likweleke umniningwane welive laseSwatini ngebantfu labaphumako nalabangenako eveni i-National Migration Data Management System. Etindzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Samkalsuye Khoza nginasimuva Shongwe eZulwini.
Imvuna yetemfumvu umhlonishwa owenxumalo ithi wonke umfundzi kumele asifunze isifundvo saseSwati kude lungalahleki lulwimi lwesiswati kubafundzi. Imvuna bekhuluma embolonjeni Steki ngesikhathi kugujwa lusuku lolwimi lwemdzabo.
Sicubulo solonyaka solulwimi lwemdzabo sithi imfundvo ngetilwimi letahlukahlukene insika yekufundza nekufundza kwetitukulwane netitukulwane. Lolu suku ke belungenelwe indvuna yetemfundo umhlonishwa owenxumalo lothe wonke umntwana kumele alufunze lulwimi lwesiswati afundzeke nesifundo sesiswati etikolweni kuteke lungashabalali.
Lulwimi ke sicale kulufundza sisebancane bese ke endleleni sitikhanza sisebenzisa letinye tilimi esikolweni. Lokwenta kufundza kwethu kube likhunyana. Sithi ke nathi siyayivumela inhlangano yetemhlaba i-UNESCO uma ithi nato letilwimi temdzabo atibe yinsika yokufundza kwethu. Umgomo wetemfundo lwabuketwa ngeminyaka wa 2018 ukubeke ebaleni kutsi bafundzi belibanga lekucala kuya ebangeni lesine kumele bafundziswe ngelulwimi lemdzabo.
Litiko letemfundo liwendele umsebenzi ngakusebenzisana nenhlangano yaka-UNESCO. Mabhalane jikelele waka-UNESCO Lwandle Simelane uthe tinhlangothi tonke kumele tibambane kucinisekisa kutsi ulwimi lwesiswati alushabalali.
Sihlosene ukuthi indzaba yemfundo lefaka ekhatsi kulwimi lwendzabuko ihanjiswe embili etinhlangothini etehlukile lokufaka ekhatsi ukutfutfukisa lwati loluqukethwe sive semzabu ngokusebenzisa wona umgomo we-Decade of Indigenous Languages loqala e-2022 kuya eminyakeni wa-2022.
Kulo msebenzi-ke kuvumelwene ngavilinye ukuthi lulimi lwesiSwati emasiko nemihambo akungalahleki kuso situkulwane lesikhona nalesitako. Ngakho-ke tikholwa atidlale inzima yato atisifundzise Siswati, lulwimi lwesiSwati nesifundo sesiSwati kungabukelwa phansi. Etindzabeni kubika Giyane Msibi ngisembolonjeni yesiteki.
Umhlaleli omkhulu wolimi lwesiSwati Celiwe Mohammed uthi bayajabula ngendlela sifundvo sesiswati lesiphaseka ngayo kumabanga angephandle. Lomhloli lomkhulu uthi noma kunjalo kusekuningi kumele kwentiwe kude siswati singalahleki kubafundzi.
Sifundo sesiswati sibonakala siphaseka ngcono etikolweni. Libandla lelibukela ulimi lwesiswati lithi like lakhatsateka ngekuthi sifundo sesiswati engasi asithatheki ngendlela lemele ngasithatheka ngaso, nelulwimi lwesiswati engathi luyashabalala futhi-ke etikolweni alisakhulunywa nhlobo. Libandla lelibukela ulimi lwesiswati lithi kunenge lelikwendile kucinisekisa ukuthi bafundzi bayasifundza siswati kufaka ekhatsi kwenta emalanga emasiko etikolweni pheceleti ema-culture days lapho bafundzi bafundza kabanti ngesiswati.
Imiphumela ya 2023 sinakubuka ngala babemsini nje besavota ngiyali ukuthi sisebenze njani siswati. Uma usibuka ngala siphasile cishe nawuqala isifundo senumber 3 kepha akusikuhle endivuna yami ngale ngo-A kakhulu lapha ka-grade 7 siyadinga lokho kutaselekelela uphasisa lesiswati sicela senze siye ku-JC kucishe kunconywana khona ngo-A ngase khona sinumber 1 futhi nawubuka sishaye tonke ifundala ka-JC
Lo mhloli lomkhulu-ke ukuthi baphokophele ekutheni sigcine siphaseke kahle sifundo sesiswati etikolweni kusuka emabanga laphansi kuyawufika etulu. Endzabeni ngingiyane Msibi ngisembolonjeni yesiteki.
Lihhovisi leliphini Ndvunankhulu licela bonke bantfu labakhubatekile ukuthi balethe titifiketi tabo tekufundza ema-qualifications kanye nemakhono labanawo kude basitakale ngetindzaba tematfuba emsebenti.
Kulaba labaphila nekukhubateka or labakhubatekile labafuna umsebenzi kanti banawo ama-qualifications or ama-skills latsite, asicele esiveni kokuthi ba-submit i-information mayelana nale ma-qualifications nema-skills labanawo bawalethe ehhovisini so that thine-ke silihhovisi lahulumende sitohlala phansi sikhulumisane-ke netinhlangano letitsite kuhulumende letiniketwe umsebenzi wokuthi ticashe tisebenti tahulumende. Sivumelane nabo kokuthi bangasiniketa ikota letsite kokuthi nangabe bacasha kube khona abantu labakhubatekile lababathathako. Lokhu-ke sikwenta sigunyatwa ngulo mthetho wa-2018 lobitwa ngokuthi Disability Act. Kokuthi phela abantu labakhubatekile nabo abaniketwe ematfuba lalingene njengalabo labangakhubateki. So-ke nguloko-ke lokusende kokuthi sisukumise sikhiphe lesicelo namuhla esiveni kokuthi sive sisibambise ngekusiniketa le information sitokwakha or noma kusetapha i-database lokutawuthi la kuvuleka khona tikhala kuhulumende noma-ke sekusetinkampaneni sikhona thina kubakhulumisa sibanikete le information labatabe bayidingile for lawo ma-positions la atawube avulekile.
Kwanyalo-ke kusede lusuku lwekugcina lwekuletha leto titifiketi pheceleti i-deadline, kodwa-ke kusheshe tilethwe leto titifiketi kuyawusita ukuthi konke kusheshe kuhambiswe ngemumo kubeteke nalosalela emuva. Endzabeni kubika Giyane Msibi ngisembabane.
Lo bekatsi lilunga lephalamende lenkhundla yaseHosiya Mduduzi Bacede Mabuza sewucele inkantolo ukuthi ifane imshaye ngeliswati lolincane uma seyikhipha sijubo sayo emacaleni ekubulala lamabili kanye nalelo lekuphula umtsetfo lolwa netiphekula sikhuni. Mabuza ukusho lokho enkantolo lenkhulu ngesikhatsi yetfula bufakazi bakhe bekusholeta inkantolo kulandzela kulahlwa ngulamacala labekuwe bona.
Lo beyakaza ilunga lePhalamende lenkundla seHosiya Mduduzi bacede emabuzo ukhongosele ukuthi inkantolo imbukeli ingamshayi ngeliswati lolukhulu. Uthi izathu salokho ukuthi sowulahlekelwe kakhulu solwase stocksini. Uthi lokulahlekelwa kwakhe kufaya ekhathi ititolo lakhe lithengisa invote kwakha letilishumi nakune lesetavalwa. Uthi lokuvala kwaletitolo kushiye lokungenane emaswati langemakhulu asihlanu ethu umsebenzi. Mabuza uthi washelwa indzawo yekugcina impahla yekwakha lesesidwashini. Uthi lempahla lebeyingekhathi beyibita imali engu-10 million emalangeni kaniyasha yangconca. Uthi lempahla beyekathi ayibhadele umshwalense kodwa inkampani lebekabhadale kiyo yathi nasekumele imbhadale yashintsha ingcondo yathi itsheliwe ukuthi ingalokothi icale. Mabuza uthi lesinye isizathu lesimenta acela inkantolo ingamshayi ngeliswati lolucinile kuthi unebantwana laba-16 lokumele abanakekele labasuka eminyakeni lemibili kuya kule ngama-22. Uthi ngaphandle nje kwalabantwana unebafati lababili kanye nalamanye emaswati lebekathi awanakekela asengakaboshwa. Uthi bonke laba solwaboshwa ngeminyaka ka-2021 abakake bakhona ukumbona ngisho kanye. Mabuza utshela inkantolo ukuthi solwaboshwa ulahlekelwe ngokonke bekatsanako empilweni. Ucele ukuthi umdala phakamise isandla ejajini Mamsi Dlamini uma lisalungiselela khipha sigwebo salo. Wathi njengaloku lijaji kulungumuntu longimake ucela libe noluvelo. Livile nabo bonke labo impilo tabo tikhinyabedekile ngekuboshwa kwakhe. Uthi akube kulo lelijaji ukuthi noma lamlahla ngalamacala labekwawona kodwa akube senhlitiyweni yalo ukuthi lifanele libone ukuthi uboshwe ngenxa yebantu labafeza injongo tabo. Uthi lesinye setizathu lacela ukuthi inkantolo imvele ngathi ukuthi namaswati esibayena acele emakhosini ukuthi afana akhiphe ejele yena kanye nalaboshwe naye lokungiloyo bekalunga lePhalamende lenkundla sengwempisi Mthandeni Dube. Uthi lamaswati avete esibayeni ukuthi yena naDube kude lokhu labakwetha kodwa bebakaze bakhuluma lokho bekade zathunywa amaswati. Ucela inkantolo ukuthi ifane ivele emaswati ingakhiphi isigwebo lesitile. Uchubeka wathi inkantolo ayimshaye ngeliswati lolincane. Kwentela ukuthi emalungu ePhalamende lakhona atokhona kumelele emaswati ngekukhuleka nangekwesaba kude kutositakala emaswati. Uthi inkantolo ayicabangisise kahle ukuthi vele kumfanele yini yena kanye naDube ukuthi bachubeke nekubhadla ejele ekubeni baboshwela kukhuluma indvu leyakade bathunywe emaswati. Mabuza uvetele inkantolo ukuthi bonke lababoshwe kwephula umthetho lolwa leliphekula sikhuni njengaye badvosa kalikhuni ejele. Uthi usesejele na uboshwele lobucala lobu ungagcina uphambene inhloko noma kukhubatekile. Uthi bonke lababoshwele lobucala bede malungelo njengaletinye tiboshwa. Uyivetele emahlandla inkantolo ukuthi indvu leyamenda akhulumele lokho bekathunywe emaswati ukuthi yena akayoza athengise ngeliciniso ngiko bekalwela emaswati lakanganalivi. Uthi lokumele emaswati ePhalamende ikakhulu nakushaya imithetho lete wahluphekisa kulesinye izathu lesenta ukuthi abebede ebudlwane lobuhle nahulumende njengalokho labanye bebeva kungathi uyaphikisa. Mabuza ucizelele ukuthi solo uyakholelwa kuloko lakusha angakaboshwa noma manje sekaboshwe futhi angeke ashintshe. Lo bekalunga lePhalamende lenkundla yasengwempisi Mthandeni Dube kubheka ukuthi ngalesina tisholetele naye kungakaphumi lisishubo. Edinzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla isenkantolo lenkulu.
Inhlangano lengamele umdlalo webhola kuleli seyethule ngalokusemthethweni iwebsite yalenhlangano. Ngokusho komphathi walenhlangano Frederick Mngomezulu, le website itawusita lenhlangano ekutholeni imali kanye nekwatisa sive ngaloko lokwendiwa ngiyo.
Lana besito wethula likhasi lethu leselikhulisiwe noma leselishinjiwe lendiwa labangcono lesithi website likhasi langcondo mshini. Nasilibuka lelikhasi langcondo mshini thina siyibhola silikhanza sekusakhiwo lesihle kakhulu lesitawenda kwekuthi kuthuthukisa kwethu ibhola ikakhulu kade kutekumaketha nekutekuxhumana sekutawuhamba kwenteke ngendlela lengcono. Dinengeke indlela nyalo tekwakha imali netekuthuthukisa vele setibita ukuthi ube khona la kuletabo ngcondo mshini kuze ukuthi konke lokwendako ukhona ekufinyelela noma ngabe ngiluphi ihlangothi. Sethemba kakhulu ukuthi kutawuthi kuphela leminyaka lemithathu njengoba sikuso sigaba seminyaka lemithathu ngekusho kwemkhombandlela wethu lihlelo lesihamba ngalo ukuthuthukisa yona ibhola kwekuthi kufunana ukuphela leminyaka lemithathu lokungenani nasibuka ngetemnotho webhola ubukhulile lokungenani ngengcenyele nge-30 ekhulwini nhlangothi tonke nasibuka ekuthini tekuthengisa tihamba kanjani. Sibonga kakhulu siphinze futhi simeme emalungethu simeme nesive ukuthi sivakashele lelikhasi langqondomshini leselivele likhona leselitaba nesithombe lesihle lesitabe sibajabulisa siphinze futhi sinikede cishe tinfo letinyendi lebe bangatitholi phambilini.
Ngaleto temidlalo sibeka lapho tindzaba tetfu tesiswati yasiphahlelo temakethe sibe sichubeka nehlelo.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
Being risky it means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusembili.
After 6 asiphinde sinamukele ehlelweni sive indzaba lenkulu ekutheni intolo bekulisuku lolukhulu kakhulu kaEswatini TV lapho khona bekuphakanyiswa ngalokusemthethweni tinhlelo letinsha lesinato singumsakato wetitfombe incumbi ke yato tibambisene nje ma departments lehlukene, the production department as well as the newsroom departments, an array of programs set to satisfy all of our viewers ngekwehlukana kwawo, from entertainment to current affairs to pretty much talk shows, magazine shows, everything you can think of.
Yeah, umsebenzi kelona lobo banjelwe itolo lapho khona CEO, CFO kanye ne head of programs bakhulumile ngawo lama programs. The second looks buka nje ukuthi umsebenzi uhambe kanjani.
I took this bold step to actually accept the offer to be the chief executive at Eswatini TV. It was a decision that was met with a lot of questions from close acquaintances, close friends. Kutsi kwente njani ngosi? Are you okay? Are you sure this is the right decision? Right, nami kwagcina le ndaba sebangibuta ngayo kwangibita ukuthi ngithi ihlole nami ukuthi vele kambe kuscience hambo isafika ni paraffin uma kwentekalani, but I knew it was the right decision. It was the right decision because I believed I had this strong belief in Eswatini, and I also had this strong belief in Eswatini TV. I believe that Eswatini TV can take a lead role in telling our story. No one knows stories said for Simaswati better than us. No one can tell story Semaswati lokuthi sibobani, lobuve betfu, lobungitsi betfu better than Emaswati. So I saw an opportunity for Eswatini TV to come in and tell our story and actually shine a positive light even le Maswati, and actually make Eswatini a very popular tourist destination. I also believed Kutsi Eswatini TV, I think one of the first few words I said when I took this job was, I see Eswatini TV being a very powerful tool to actually empower the youth. And I really believe Eswatini TV is a very great platform
that can be used to actually showcase or give artists a platform to actually show what they can do or the talents they have locally and to the rest of the world, especially in the arts, be it music, the different arts, and also in sports. And last but not least, I also believed, Gutsi, Eswatini, Singemaswati, we are the custodians of the Swati culture. We are the custodians of the Siswati language. And I really believed, Gutsi, we have this unique opportunity creating a vibrant film industry that we can get to a point where we export content to the rest of the region and the rest of the continent and the world. And that would actually be an employment creating opportunity, especially for our youth, because the industry tends to employ a lot of young people. So I really saw Eswatini TV just really taking a lead role in addressing the unemployment issue lesinayo even leMaswati. However, I will acknowledge it has been a very, very challenging journey. We have fallen, we have faltered a few times, and some of those instances very recently. But I saw the team every time. I saw the team coming together and fighting back and rising up together as a team. And in spite of all those challenges, I have this firm belief. I have this firm belief. My belief is even firmer than when I made the decision that we will achieve all these things that I have envisioned in Eswatini TV. My belief comes from number one. I've seen a team that fights day in and day out to raise the bar, to raise the brand, to excel in what we do. And I have seen a very, very talented team at Eswatini TV, and also a team that has a very strong passion for what they do for TV and broadcasting. And then secondly, I've seen the support. I've seen the support that we received from all our stakeholders especially in the country, the businesses, the schools, the producers, the government, our regulator, and many other stakeholders. And with this support that we have and the great talent that we have here at Eswatini TV, I am very confident that we will become one of the best broadcasters in the region and in the continent. So today is about all of us. It's really about all of us. It's about all of us who are stakeholders in this platform, in this platform, Eswatini TV. We have invited all of you, intentionally so, to say, let's all come together, let's join hands, and actually walk this journey together to raise Eswatini TV to where it is supposed to be, being a leading broadcaster with relevant content, exciting content for viewers in the country, in the region, and also the rest of the world. And also, let's work together, especially to our business partners and the government. Let's work together to make Eswatini TV the platform that provides value for your businesses, that provides value for the objectives that you have for your businesses, and also the different departments that you work for as government of Eswatini. So here today,
we will show you and say more about where we are going, and also show you and say more about what you should expect in Eswatini TV. And to me, this is a conversation starter. Or nangabe seyivele seyiqalile in some areas, iqhubeke le conversation. How can we, or let's all come together and build Eswatini TV that will become this tide that raises all boats that are in the industry.
Yeah.
I just want to promise you and my clients that we are doing all we can internally to improve a client nang experience here. No, Manfiga Eswatini TV with the sales team. We are perfecting systems, the internal processes there, and we'll also value feedback from your side as well as we journey gule partnership les giyo. And you'll get a value for money. Thank you to our stakeholders for making time. Guta Namsa from the ministry, our clients, and the staff of Eswatini TV. The staff is so passionate. I've never seen vibrant staff. The team is vibrant, and from every corner, from the presenters, even with the very small resources, they run and they give you a very good job. You get into the admin, same thing. So ngiyabonga kakhulu, and it shows your dedication and passion. Then ngithanda kubonga umphathi wami CEO lengifixene naye 7 months ago. The CEO, when I heard ukuthi he has over 20 years as a USA and utanje who accepted the position from the USA, I was like, yo. It is good out because I know the work ethics and the business acumen from my time in the UK. I was like, good out but I was very happy for Eswatini TV because I just knew Guti, it will change it and we are moving on the right direction. Thank you so much, Ngosi, the management team yako, for seeing fit ukuthi sibe nala launch the new programs and lele sikwendako ukuthi sikukhone lokhu kwakho ku showcase our clients.
Yeah, bekungeke Chief Executive Officer Mlamuli Dlamini lo thulema remarks akhe itolo kulomsebenzi lomkhulu as well as our Chief Financial Officer. Nana, quite an interesting sentiment there that she's sharing. Nzabekwe ukuthi nakeva ukuthi CEO wethu is from the USA kanti naye CEO bekavetile ukuthi lungelele wathi nakathatha decision yokuthi uyeda vele when he was offered the job. A lot of people question ukuthi how can you leave the USA after being there for 20 years and come to Eswatini and lead Eswatini TV? And he said it's something that he really believed in, and kuyangijabulisa kuva nje lo ukuthi na CFO naye ucommitted kangakanani ukuthi babambisane kusithuthukisa sisiteshi, and indeed we are seeing a culmination of their great leadership.
Yeah, Konya, let's take a look at the showreel Yema programs La Masha La Eswatini TV.
Welcome to Eswatini Television Authority. Our channel provides content that connects communities, encourages education, and inspires change. The vision is to enhance national development and community growth. Our newsroom delivers major stories and freshly cut bulletins throughout the day in both English and Siswati. We have an hour-long bulletin during the week with news and sports stories from all 4 regions of Eswatini and around the globe. Current affairs are discussed at length in a timely manner on Kusile Breakfast Show. This is our weekly morning live broadcast with news and interviews. Catch up on what's happening in the world of sports.
But labanye batabe bawathola ama-gifts namuhla they'll be spreading love. They'll be
For the lovers of hard talk interviews and those who enjoy facts about topics that impact our livelihoods, watch Asakhe Gwetfu. This is a show hosted by senior journalist Linton Gule, where he sits down with key officials and asks the questions you want answers to. We have a selection of business news programs each day of the week. Market View is a wide-ranging view of the market landscape. We offer expert analysis, facts and figures from the world of business. Step into the world of business news, analytics and trends with Business Watch. This is where discussions on finances from all over the globe are brought to the table.
Eswatini business community, and another story will be from the Ministry of Finance with Minister Neil Reichenberg updating us on revenue appeals.
We are a nation with deep cultural roots and diverse, colorful traditional events. We capture and broadcast all the major national events, cultural events, including Umhlanga, Bugano, Ingwala, Sibaya, and many more. When it comes to sports, we've got the ball in our court. Demidlalo is our weekly highlights show for all local sports events. We kick off the week with reviews, dribble the past weekend games, and tackle upcoming fixtures. We zoom in on football in our analysis show, Libola Eswatini, which focuses on local highlights and discusses trending football issues. For a daily dose of lifestyle content, watch The Golden Hour, an afternoon show that has interesting interviews on family, health, and wellness. Keep up to date with the latest social media stories and get tips on the latest trends and fashion events.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's the Golden Hour on Eswatini TV, the only show we say #Kumnanzi Ekhaya. It is good to be home. A very warm welcome, guys.
Every Friday, tune in to the ever-trendy Eswatini Lifestyle, the show that covers events that happen in the country. Inspired by passion, drive, and swag, the show loves the red carpet events, fancy cars, trendy people, and places. For local travel enthusiasts, Buhle Betfu is a virtual tour guide to places of interest in and around Eswatini. The focus is on accommodation, local cuisine, and fun activities. Believe it or not, Eswatini has extraordinary chefs with excellent culinary experiences. We like finding talented chefs that bring together both the traditional and international flair on our show. This season we're cooking with Mrs. M. She's a celebrity chef who brings both aesthetics and taste to the dinner table. Her decadent pleasures are served with love. A Kappa with Nomcebo is where ordinary people tell real and raw stories of their lives. Nomcebo's guests share their painful life experiences, giving insight on their personal challenges and celebrating their victories over a Kappa with Nomcebo. When we put our best foot forward, we do so on Mbili Kanye Kanye. This talk show dives into the nitty-gritties of issues, focusing on local governance, development, and service delivery. Religious shows are where we take it easy on Sundays. The musical show Gospel Impact is where local gospel artists tell their stories through praise and worship, with Mbali Smelane as the host.
This is a song that I always specify it as one of my life songs because it is a response to something that I do not deserve.
Lithini Libandla is where the church has a say. The show dissects issues of faith with leaders and members discussing matters that affect social norms in and out of the church.
Angubingelele mbukele msakato wakha Eswatini TV thamkose mbuyisayo yakubingelela yakuvusela yakumukela mbukele sehlelweni lithini libandla.
For the young minds, we have Brains on the Go, a school quiz show that unearths brains from students in all corners of the country by unlocking an exciting level of thinking and learning.
Maize or biltong?
I think it's biltong.
Street Quiz is a game show where random individuals on the street find themselves answering general knowledge questions posed to them for a cash prize. If you were young and dare to dream, then Dream It, Achieve It is the show for you. This is where you get to see young and dynamic achievers working hard and chasing their dream businesses and careers. And if you need inspiration and motivation for the climb, listen in on our conversations with those who have traveled the journey on Young Climber. This is a show where successful people share their stories of trials and triumphs. For a bit of comedy, join Eswatini's top comedian Mdura, the host of the remarkable talk show This and That with Mdura. This is where we get to know more about our local personalities as they share with us their slices of life, laughter and music. We have comedic relief with our show, Squad Code, your guide to navigating the streets. We get quick and clever opinions from the squad who answer quirky and funny questions on situations we all have been through or know about.
Can you start a relationship in December?
You can. I mean, there's no time or month for starting a relationship.
It's December warm group.
Entertainment comes in the form of music on The Beatdown, a show where we do a countdown for our local top 10 videos and a roundup of entertainment news stories from around the globe. Every Friday begins with our party starter, a show called This Weekend Eswatini. This is our gig guide to all the events in the country with intervals of music, interviews and movie reviews. Studio One is a youth-driven, energetic show that brings local entertainment news, pushes top-quality music videos, and gets cozy with local artists and interviews and performances.
#1 DJ in Africa.
See you every Saturday at 6 p.m.
On Eswatini TV.
Studio One.
Studio One.
Studio One.
The party goes on with our show, Friday Night Lights. This is where the DJs light up the dance floor in your house. It's live music galore as the best DJs dish out hit after hit straight from the studio to your screens. We have international content in our telenovelas. Heartland, a drama series based in Canada, follows a multi-generational saga centered on a family getting through life together in both happy and trying times.
Kate is really cute and really rich. She goes to some private school. Frat boy.
Are you ready to go?
We cross over to The Border, show where we discover a whole new world of intelligent and brilliant detectives who confront the world's harshest and most shocking border security problem head on.
Somebody 3 times a week. I'm taking her out of the field. That's duty only.
Who's the girl?
It's my daughter. Don't worry, she's not yours.
Eswatini TV has so much more. So, join our world of content, tailor-made for an experience the best Eswatini has to offer.
Yeah, hamba kanjalo ke, those are our new programs and some of them ayabuya khona lapha ekhaya Eswatini TV. Utibonile na ukuthi kuningi longakubukela khona lapha on Eswatini TV. You can also stream these shows on our YouTube page Eswatini TV. Usibukele na ka DSTV channel 286 as well as Guskuchana tininga kultinhlelo. So so there's 1 hour bulletin, there's new programs, current affairs programs, entertainment programs, music.
2-hour breakfast show.
Yes, 2-hour breakfast show.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so take a break. So we are not about this English.
Residents of Simunye and surrounding areas are notified that intense TV license door-to-door inspections are being conducted in the region. The exercise starts on the 19th to the 28th of February 2024. Stay alert. Our TV license inspectors will be wearing Eswatini TV gear and will have tags that confirm their identity. Don't be scammed. Our inspectors do not ask for cash payments. Pay your TV license only at specified pay points or call us on 34050163 or 78024545 for more information. Alternatively, you can send a WhatsApp message to 76222000 and we'll chat with you. Pay your TV license today, enhance the industry.
At 7 o'clock on the dot, let's get into the English news. His Majesty King Mswati III has graced Nkomanzi area under Luvinjelweni chiefdom with a royal visit. While in the area, His Majesty also visited the Michael Lee Enterprise, Eswatini.
While His Majesty King Mswati III visited Nkomanzi area under Luvinjelweni chiefdom, the community revealed a number of projects that are underway in the community, such as the mining project by the Michael Lee Enterprises. The fruit of the king and the people of Eswatini's vision in developing and investing in the mining sector to boost the country's economy and create job opportunities have started to be realized, as we have the Michael Lee Enterprises mining green chart that has come to invest in the mining industry. Upon arrival at the site, His Majesty was welcomed by the management of the company. Also present at the sightseeing were their Royal Highnesses, the Princes and Princesses, the Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers and Chiefs. His Majesty the King hopes that this project will greatly benefit the Kingdom of Eswatini.
Of course, there were a lot of the Maswat who also played a very important part to establish this mine. But now that it has been fully established, even though I have not come officially to open it, I've come to launch it.
The director of the company, Michael Lee, revealed that the company is committed to developing the area and further thanked His Majesty for entrusting the company to mine the stone. About 100 of people from the local community have been employed by the company, and the company is looking forward to employ a total of about 3,500 community members. Other development projects expected to come with this project and to benefit local communities include the construction of a megacity which will have factories based in it and will support construction of roads, just to name a few. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia, Malelecha Mountains, and the Hoho region.
The United Nations Fund for Population Activities, the UNFPA, has partnered with the European Union in launching the Hlonipheka program, which is aimed at addressing all survivors of gender or disability abuse and sheltering them with the necessities to live after facing that particular abuse. The Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Kusile says the program will promote the rights of survivors in the task of eliminating abuse in the country.
The Hlonipheka Thriving for Dignity program comes at a time where abuse cases have taken a 22% leap in the country. These numbers are alarming and they need to be addressed. This was expressed by the Deputy Prime Minister, Her Excellency Kusile Dladla, through the voice of the Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Melusi Masuku, on the launch of the program on Wednesday at the UN offices.
Today's launch could not have been held at a more opportune time than now, following the recent surge in cases of gender-based violence in the country. And as the lead government agency on both gender and disability issues, the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister welcomes today's launch, which we believe will address, among others, issues relating to demand in safe houses and promote a safe and conducive environment for survivors of gender-based violence in the country.
Ambassador of the European Union, Her Excellency Desislava Shimilova, says if women and the disabled can be well taken care of, the country can thrive.
We are engaging regularly, and their inclusion in the economic and social life of the country is key to concretize, to make living on the ground the principle of leaving no one behind.
Head of Office of the UNFPA says there are specific grants that have been set aside for these people that they will use for their daily livings.
The International Conference on Population and Development's Program of Action identifies the elimination of gender-based discrimination and violence as crucial to empower women to participate in decisions pertaining to their life, to their families, communities, and nations.
10 million has been set aside for the program, and this aligns with the SDGs that by the year 2030, abuse should be eliminated in all parts of the world. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Poguhle Dlamini in Babane.
The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade has toured the construction site of the Johnson Workwear factory to familiarize itself with the progress of the construction. The Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, says this factory will start by employing 300 Emaswati as it looks to employ 2,000 Emaswati in the near future.
Johnson Workwear produces a wide range of garments for different industries with over 20 stores in South Africa. The company also operates in countries such as Lesotho, Mauritius, to name a few. The size of the factory now under construction is said to be 21,875 square meters, while the construction budget is over 161 million emalangeni. The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Khumalo, has said it brings great pleasure that the factory is promising to give Emaswati quality jobs.
Investor lebesolo sikhulumisana nayo uthi iqashe abantu labantu 2000 la kuleli vela kaNgwane sibheke ukuthi ke ngaAugust le firm bese seya handover ke iniketwa yena lo umnikati wale Johnson Workwear baqale ke kusebenta bataqala kancane ke baqashe abantu laba 300 ba train kuze ukuthi baphindze baqashe labanye labatawutrainwa ngilaba lasebatrainekile baze bafike ke ku 2000 leli phupho lengwenyama ukuthi emaswati onke aqashwe athole umsebenzi.
The director for Johnson Workwear, Nick Johnson, speaks of when the factory will start operating.
We're hoping that we'll start operating here in February or March next year, 2025. The long term is way more important for us. So we really take that view wherever we go. And it'll be no different here in Eswatini, but we're excited and we really are looking forward to getting going. So every person who's going to work in this facility needs to love coming to work every day.
Johnson has further mentioned that part of the factory will be a clinic for employees. According to a 2022 report from the World Bank, the unemployment rate in the country stood at 24.4%. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Thando Dluli, Hlangano.
Comprehensive migration data of the country will help impact the social, economic and human development of Eswatini. This was said by the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, during a launch of the country's migration profile, where she was represented by the Principal Secretary, Nhlanhla Nxumalo.
The Ministry of Home Affairs gathered stakeholders to launch the country's first migration profile with data collected from 2015 to 2021, where the country was assisted by the International Organization for Migration, IOM. The Minister of Home Affairs, the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, said migration profiles provide the country with a framework for consolidating existing information from various sources and developing strategies to address data and policy development needs. And the minister was represented by the PS in the ministry, Nhlanhla Nxumalo.
The migration profile for Eswatini is an indispensable instrument that compiles the data required for evidence-based policy making and decision making regarding migration. It will also help us better grasp the role that remittances and diaspora plays in the growth of the country, as well as the larger effects of migration on Eswatini as a country of origin, transit and destination.
UN Resident Coordinator to Eswatini, George Wechira, said they are concerned as Eswatini has more immigrants than immigrants.
Current net migration for Eswatini in 2024, probably it's not in the report because the report is up to 2021, is negative 4.184 per 100,000 people, which represents a decline of 8.96% from 2023. So the concern here is that you are having more immigrants than immigrants.
Consultant Mandla Mehlo provided key findings of the report.
Total overall over the years, there were 3,003 undocumented persons within the country, with most of the people within the Kusile region. And we couldn't also establish what was the main reason Kusile would have more. Probably it's because the security forces within the Kusile region are actually enforcing the Immigration Act more as compared to the other region.
Recommendations by the United Nations during the meeting was that the country needs to establish a national migration data management strategy, which will help the country provide guidance on data sharing. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Suekaza with Zimuva Shongwe, Eswatini.
The Honorable Minister of Education, Owen Ngumalo, says every learner must learn the Siswati language in school, as that will preserve the Siswati language and culture. The minister was speaking at Mbolonje Nisitegi during the International Mother Day commemoration.
This year's theme for the International Mother Language Day is Multilingual Education, a pillar of learning and intergenerational learning in which linguistic diversity faces increasing threats as more languages vanish. Currently, 40% of the global population lacks access to education in their native language. The Minister of Education, Honorable Owen Ngumalo, says every child must learn Siswati as a first language in schools. The minister says, our language is slowly perishing and vanishing. As such, schools must ensure that Siswati is being taught in all levels. The minister says all nations take pride in their native mother language, so as a Maswati, the day is commemorated internationally because language defines a nation. He says Siswati is learned at an early age, but is lost along the way as a Maswati grows up in schools. He says they are in accord with UNESCO in commemorating this day. The UNESCO Secretary General Lwandle Simelane says Siswati language must be communicated and laws interpreted to the Siswati language. She says they encourage Siswati pioneers to pass on the language to the younger generation and ensure communication flows in Siswati. She says tomorrow's leaders will be this generation, which Maswati needs to ensure that Siswati culture is not lost and it is preserved. She says schools must play their part in ensuring that learners do excel in the Siswati subject. All stakeholders agreed to work together in ensuring that Siswati is taught at an early age in all schools. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Mbolonjeni, Sitegi.
Studio One is back on your screens with brand new episodes. Brand new episodes. Catch your favorite local artists, live performances, your movers and shakers, the hustlers, doing the work. Entertainment news, local and international, nothing but fresh vibes every Saturday at 6 p.m. Let's go. What are you doing on a Saturday evening? We got nothing but the best. Vibes for moves.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our English news. The Siswati Language Senior Inspector Celiwe Mohammed says they are very happy with the pass rate of the Siswati subject in external classes. She says even though they are happy with the pass rate, a lot still needs to be done.
Learners doing their external classes seem to be doing well in the Siswati subject. The Siswati board says a lot has been done to ensure that learners do excel in Siswati. This includes motivating and changing the attitude of teachers towards the Siswati subjects and hosting culture days in schools. The Senior Inspector of Siswati, Celiwe Mohammed, says they are happy with the pass rate. She says Siswati obtained 89.9% on EPC in the year 2023, which is quite an achievement. She says JC obtained 77.70% and comes after literature and English. She says she pleads with teachers to ensure that learners take on Siswati, as that will enrich them on their culture. The main objective is to ensure that all learners pass Siswati subject. For Eswatini TV News, I am Kian MCB, Empolonjeni, Sitegi.
On international news, Ukraine's military on Tuesday dismissed a statement by Russia's defense minister that Moscow's forces had secured full control over the village of Krink on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River in the southern Kherson region.
In this video published online by a Russian soldier, he declares his brigade has seized the Ukrainian village of Krinky, a strategic site in the Kherson region in southern Ukraine. Whilst his claims are backed by Russia's defense ministry, who insists they now control the hamlet, the Ukrainian Army Command on the southern front strongly denies these claims.
We officially inform that this information is not true. The defense forces of southern Ukraine continue to hold their positions in Krinky.
Russia's claims of advancement come just days after the fall of the eastern city of Avdiivka in the Donetsk region, after months of heavy fighting, where Ukraine said its forces withdrew to save their lives. With the city almost completely obliterated, nearly all of its pre-war population have also left. In nearby towns, residents are also fleeing, fearful of what could happen.
It's unbearable to endure what's happening. They're bombarding and destroying everything. Shall I wait until they destroy us? I've made up my mind. I'm leaving.
When the situation had stabilized a little bit, people came back. But now, with Avdiivka seized and Russia advancing elsewhere on the front line, people are forced to leave again.
The Russian president congratulated his troops for the advance and says Moscow will press further into Ukraine. President Zelensky has made no secret of the fact Kyiv's frontline resources are stretched thin, as he continues to plead with allies for military aid.
The United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken heads to Brazil this week for a G20 foreign ministers meeting, where the wars in Ukraine and Gaza are expected to dominate conversations. He also will meet the Brazil's president, then travel to Argentina.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken headed to Brazil for the G20 foreign ministers meeting and talks on Wednesday with President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The independent-minded Brazilian leader has strongly criticized Israel's war on Hamas and the high number of Palestinian civilians killed. He had this to say on Sunday on a visit to Ethiopia.
What's happening in the Gaza Strip isn't a war. It's a genocide. It's not a war of soldiers against soldiers. It's a war between a highly prepared army and women and children.
At the State Department Tuesday, spokesperson Matthew Miller said the Biden administration disagrees with Lula's comments.
We have been quite clear that we do not believe that genocide has occurred in Gaza. We want to see the conflict ended as soon as practicable. We want to see humanitarian assistance increased in a sustained manner to innocent civilians in Gaza, but we do not agree with those comments.
One expert says Lula is trying to make his voice heard about matters over which his country has little influence.
He tried to punch above its weight, trying to influence the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, and there are limitations. We should recognize that Brazil, in terms of foreign policy, has no power excess, or has not strength to interfere in this area. On the contrary, we are very strong, and we are a power, a world power, in environment, in food security, or in energy transaction. We should concentrate on these areas.
Barbosa says he does not know why Lula has been silent on the political situation in neighboring Venezuela, a likely Blinken topic of discussion during the G20 foreign ministers meeting in Rio de Janeiro and his visit Friday to Argentina. Venezuelan's government and opposition met Monday in Caracas to discuss their differing views on the detention of a prominent human rights attorney and an agreement to work on conditions for a free and fair presidential election this year. On the eve of the G20 foreign ministers meeting, a top Brazilian diplomat said that conflicts around the world have reached the level of the Cold War and that global leaders need to adapt the international system to prevent new conflicts. In Argentina, Blinken will hold talks with its outspoken new president, Javier Milei, who is a staunch supporter of Israel.
Two Pakistan parties have reached a power-sharing agreement that will return Shehbaz Sharif to premiership, leaving out politicians loyal to jailed former leader Imran Khan, despite winning the most seat in this month's vote.
After 10 days of negotiations, a deal finally sealed to give Pakistan a new government.
Pakistan People's Party.
The Pakistan People's Party and the Muslim League Nawaz have enough numbers now, and, God willing, now we'll be able to work on forming a government. With the help of Allah, we're now in a position to form a government.
Shehbaz Sharif, who was previously Prime Minister for 16 months until last August, will once again head the cabinet. The Pakistan People's Party and the Muslim League N have generally ruled intermittently as rivals, but no party managed to secure an overall majority in the elections on February 8th. Topping the poll was former Prime Minister Imran Khan, but he was sentenced to decades in prison in the weeks running up to the polls in what he called politically motivated cases. There have been widespread accusations of vote rigging against the establishment parties. In the southeastern state of Sindh on Tuesday, thousands turned out in protest against the Pakistan People's Party, which stands accused of election fixing.
We travelled 200 kilometres from Gotki because, you know, the elections were massively rigged. No progress has been made in Pakistan in the last 15 years.
We're protesting against the election rigging in Sindh and across Pakistan. We demand an investigation into who rigged the elections.
With the new government replete with familiar faces, there's little sign of a new page being turned in Pakistani politics, suggesting Shehbaz Sharif and his men will be facing popular anger from the very start.
Guinea's self-appointed military leaders have dissolved the government and will appoint a new one, the presidency's Secretary General said in a film statement on Monday. The West African country has been under military rule since a junta seized power in a September 2021 coup.
News has taken many Guineans by surprise. On Monday night, the military regime announced the dissolution of the government. At this cafe in the capital, Mohammed, a civil servant, says he is happy with the decision.
Many of the ministers didn't do what the Guinean population wanted. Every time, they made false promises. It wasn't the fault of President Doumbouya, but of the ministers. That is why we are happy with the decision.
The mood is tense in Guinea. The junta has restricted internet access for the past 3 months. The media has been censored and inflation is rampant. Unions are threatening to launch a general strike. Some politicians believe the dissolution of government could go some way to calming the situation.
Not only does this decision bring relief to the people, but I think it will also bring hope. We need this for the government to rethink and form a new government for the people of Guinea.
Civil society activists continue to call for a return to civilian rule.
As far as the failures of the last 2 years and the alarming situation Guineans find themselves in, what should be done? How can we ensure a speedy transition back to constitutional order? Who is responsible for helping us get away from this abnormal situation?
The junta in Conakry has yet to fix a date for appointing the new government.
Thousands of protesting Indian farmers equipped with cranes and excavators were set on Wednesday to march to New Delhi, the capital, after talks with the government on guaranteed prices for their produce failed to break a deadlock. The action, watched by security forces clad in riot gear, came after farmers' groups rejected a government proposal this week for 5-year contracts and guaranteed support prices for produce such as corn, cotton, and pulses.
Tear gas and flash grenades as police tried to disperse a crowd of angry farmers from a highway several hours north of New Delhi. A convoy of tractors stretching back for miles as the farmers seek to make their way to the capital to demand higher prices for their crops. Police have managed to hold them off so far with a blockade of concrete barriers and barbed wire. Farmers, though, say their equipment can and will break through if necessary.
The government should remove the barricades and give us permission to go hold a demonstration in the capital. If they're not willing to let us proceed, then they should fulfill our demands.
The Indian government currently guarantees prices on staples like rice and wheat. Farmers, though, want those minimums extended to all crops, along with loan forgiveness and pensions for those over 60. This week, they rejected a new offer for 5-year contracts and an expansion of the price minimums to corn, cotton, and pulses. The protests threaten a repeat of the massive uprising 2 years ago as farmers surrounded the capital, eventually forcing the government to repeal laws aimed at deregulating India's agricultural commodities market. Nearly 70% of India's 1.4 billion people make their living from agriculture, giving farmers outsized political power through sheer numbers. The sector, though, is in economic difficulty, with wages stagnant and suicides widespread. It accounts for less than 20% of the country's economy.
The French government will prepare by the summer a new law to better safeguard farmers' income and strengthen their position in negotiations with retailers and consumer goods companies, Prime Minister Gabriel Attal said on Wednesday. And Attal made the announcement on updating the so-called Egalim law in his latest speech, aimed at easing tensions with angry farmers ahead of the annual Salon d'Agriculture Farming Trade Fair that starts with this weekend.
It's the latest attempt by the French government to ease tensions with angry farmers. A new agriculture bill outlined by Prime Minister Gabriel Attal on Wednesday.
We've heard the farmers' appeal. We've made commitments, and we're in the process of keeping them. This is just the beginning of a new page that we're writing together with them.
The bill aims to appease farmers following crippling nationwide protests last month. over low wholesale prices, burdensome environmental rules and competition from outside the EU. The French government has said it has already paid several million euros in emergency aid and will create a new basis for negotiations between producers and wholesalers to improve farmers' incomes and will make it easier for farmers to get temporary visas for foreign seasonal workers.
The draft agricultural policy law that the minister will present in detail recognizes in black and white in the law our objective of agricultural and food sovereignty and places agriculture among the nation's fundamental interests in the same way as our security or national defense.
The announcement comes just days before France's National Agriculture Show, widely regarded as the deadline for the government to meet farmers' demands. Some resumed action on Wednesday by blockading a stretch of motorway in the south of France, while two farmers' unions have announced they will lead a group of tractors to the Agriculture Show in Paris, ahead of French President Emmanuel Macron's visit this weekend.
Italy's northern Lombardy region imposed severe anti-smoke measures across Milan and 8 surrounding provinces on Tuesday to combat a particularly bad period of air pollution. A lack of rain and wind has exacerbated air pollution levels in Italy, particularly in the most landlocked and industrial northern Po River Valley.
A blanket of smog suffocates Italy's second city. A mixture of fine particles and other pollutants which have pushed legal limits, making Milan's air quality among the worst globally in February, according to EU and Italian atmosphere monitors. And residents can feel it too.
It's not good. There's too much traffic, too many emissions, and you can't breathe well.
The air quality in Milan is definitely, as it has been for a few years now, really bad, especially in winter, except when there's a bit of wind that clears the air a bit.
Milan is located in the region of Lombardy, which sits in a basin between mountains, meaning it is poorly ventilated. But Italian environmental groups say the main factors behind the pollution are vehicle emissions, the heating of homes, and the agricultural sector. The northern industrial region is home to many livestock farms and almost a third of Italy's population. The problem has been exacerbated by a lack of wind and rain, and with forecasts indicating the smog won't lift anytime soon, Lombardy authorities have responded by barring heavy motor vehicles from operating during the day and imposing limits on heating and industrial agricultural activities.
And in sports news, the Eswatini Swimming Association's executive member, Melusisi Melane, says the association is looking to host more than 3 local swimming competitions under the long-distance category as one way to improve the local distance swimming competition and be able to have athletes who can compete internationally.
Having seen the progress under short-distance competitions in swimming, Eswatini Swimming Association has started to look at ways of now giving full attention to long-distance swimming competition where they can begin to even compete internationally, like in short distances. Melosis Melane, who is one of the executive members of the association, says hosting more than 3 competitions locally, at least per year, will contribute to the development of the sport.
With the sponsors, is totally DNSA through IOCA. We are looking with this nema open water challenges nyalo because the mali lesiyitholile it directed to open water challenge. So angeke saba na yenye because usually besibaba na yenye emnyakeni, but we have to try and increase maybe 3 or even 4 emnyakeni.
Swimmers who are used to the swimming pool competitions are already finding long-distance swimming competition exciting.
Ngijwayele manje ase pool nje nawe utala edamini vele ayakuphusha nakunalo moya bese kuba likhulu lokuswima. Angakujwayeli kakhulu ukuswima la ngaphandle.
Absolutely magnificent. I really thoroughly enjoyed this swim. I think it's got so much potential. I mean, to have conditions like this, clean water, I think we really are blessed to have an opportunity to swim like this.
The scholarship of over 500,000 Emarangeni to long-distance competitions that was unveiled recently from Eswatini Olympic Commonwealth Games Association with international bodies will play a key role in seeing the sport grow in the country. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabi Sumsunera with Linda Dlamini, Mpabane.
That's it for our English news. We'll go for a break. We'll return shortly.
How much does the UN cost? It costs about $3 billion to run the United Nations, and that's roughly 1/10 of the cost of the global market for potato chips. When you divide that amongst the 8 billion people of the world, you have a cost of a little bit less than 40 cents per person per year that the UN operates. And if you add up all of those expenses, regular budget and peacekeeping together, the annual cost on average for every person on the world is about $1.25 per person. So it's about as much as, say, a bag of chips, although chips are actually slightly more expensive than that and slightly worse for you. Where does the United Nations get its money? The United Nations gets its money basically from all of the countries. There's 193 countries in the United Nations. Some of them will pay a little bit more, some of them pay a little bit less. Who sets the amount each country pays? The member states agree on what the percentage each country pays should be, based on a complex formula that includes the size of each country's economy and the size and the responsibilities of the country. You range from a high of 22% for the United States, which pays the most, to a low of 0.001% for the smallest countries. What happens if a country doesn't pay? If a country doesn't pay what it owes the UN for the equivalent of its past 2 years of debt, then it will lose its vote in the General Assembly. Countries try to avoid that, so a lot of them will try to make sure that however much they owe, it will be less than 2 years' worth of debt. So, what is the money for? The Secretariat is the main body of the United Nations. It includes the staff who work on things ranging from diplomacy to human rights to the rule of law worldwide to all the humanitarian and peacekeeping work that we do. How does the UN prevent fraud and waste? The United Nations has many ways of having oversight over their money to make sure that none of it is wasted. And we do have internal and external auditors. There's groups inside the UN, like the Office of Internal Oversight Services, that investigates any allegations of fraud or corruption. But also, the main way of oversight ultimately is through the member states of the United Nations. They approve the budget and make sure that the expenses that the UN pays match up with our goals. What's the cost of humanitarian operations? Humanitarian relief falls into a few basic categories, but the main ones have to do with food, drinkable water, shelter, and different assets, whether it's mosquito nets in some countries or winterized clothing in others. In 2021, we asked for $3.77 billion to help 174 million people in 60 countries. That was crucial life-saving aid, and yet even so, we got basically a little bit less than half of that. We have to appeals where only 30% of our expenses are met, or only 20% of our expenses are met. It really depends. Some of the crises that get the most attention worldwide, we get all of the money we're asking for. But others, in countries that are less in the news daily, get much, much less. We don't see humanitarian aid as simply an expenditure. It's an investment in people. And ultimately, it's much less than the cost of giving up on people. How does this all fit in with UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and other entities? The United Nations also comprises a vast range of agencies, funds, and programs. They deal with all kinds of special issues, from the concerns of children, women, people with AIDS, atomic energy, our postal transactions, civil aviation. So there's a wide variety of them, and each one has their own budget and their own board of directors. How does the cost of peace compare to the price of war? Certainly, there's trillions of dollars that are spent on the war machines of the world. UN peacekeepers, as many of them as there are, add up to 0.3% of the world's military expenditures. The other 99.7% comes from different member states. The war machines of the world build weapons that are used to kill people. the loss of human life deprives us all. We need to have a better way in life, and the United Nations, through its diplomatic work, its humanitarian work, its work on behalf of human rights, is trying to do what it can to establish a world where money can be spent for things that people really want. That is to say, a life of health, a life in which people are educated, a better life for all of them.
Yeah, that was really, really interesting and touching. The loss of human lives deprives us all. The United Nations, as well as other agencies, really do want to make better use of the monitoring aid money that they have in education and as well as health instead of the loss of life. So they're encouraging the world to do better, and we are all praying for, you know, the non-existence of wars and kubulawana vele lapha emhlabeni. Sathemba nje ukuthi yinto letawuhamba ihambe iphele nathi imali ezisetshenziswe kangcono, but ke solo siyaqhubeka sibuka wona ema-clips aqhamuka khona etinhlanganweni takamhlaba. Briefing by Natalia Gemin, Executive Director of the Counterterrorism Committee Executive Directorate, on threats to international peace and security caused by terrorist acts.
Dear Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, I'm pleased to brief the Security Council on the 18th report of the Secretary General on the threat posed by Daesh and on the United Nations efforts to support member states in addressing the threat. And I would like to thank the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism, headed by Under-Secretary General Mr. Vladimir Voronkov, the analytical support and sanctions monitoring team led by Mr. Justin Hustvedt, and all other United Nations partners for their close collaboration with the Counterterrorism Committee's Executive Directorate on the report. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of the Secretary General of the International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, Mr. Jürgen Stock, and thank him for the close partnership that Interpol has maintained with CETAT over the years. Madam President, the transnational and decentralized character of the threat posed by Daesh and its affiliates continues to demand a nimble international strategy focusing on multilateralism, information sharing, and cooperation across borders. Daesh and its affiliates are becoming more ingrained in parts of the African continent. They are exploiting the political instability and expanding their radius of influence, their operations, and territorial control in the Sahel, with growing concerns for coastal West Africa. The African continent now accounts for almost half of terrorist acts worldwide, with Central Sahel accounting for about 25% of such attacks. It is a priority of the United Nations counterterrorism architecture to support African member states and partners in addressing these trends. Meanwhile, enduring challenges persist in the Middle East and Southeast and Central Asia, with indications that Daesh is attempting to resurge in those subregions as well. CETAT remains committed to supporting all United Nations member states in countering the threat posed by Daesh and its affiliates, including their attempts to regroup. On behalf of the Counterterrorism Committee, CETAT assesses and facilitates technical assistance delivery for the implementation of relevant Security Council resolutions on counterterrorism. Based on our recommendations and analysis, several initiatives have been implemented by United Nations Global Counterterrorist Coordination Compact entities to address the threat posed by Daesh and its affiliates. These initiatives include supporting the prosecution, rehabilitation, and reintegration of the individuals in a human rights compliant, gender responsive, and age appropriate manner. Additionally, they involve developing technical assistance plans in support of government's efforts to prevent and counter terrorism, such as the one recently adopted in Benin. United Nations entities are also engaged in strengthening states' capacity to prevent terrorists from acquiring weapons, protect vulnerable targets, and disrupt terrorist travel under the United Nations Countering Terrorist Travel Program. In addition, United Nations partners act to stem terrorist financing and Daesh use of information and communication technologies, develop counter-terrorist narratives, strengthen the resilience of societies, and support the reconstruction of cultural heritage sites. Madam President, among all this important work, I wish to highlight two areas of priority for CTED. First, addressing the use of new and emerging technologies for terrorist purposes. Incidents around the world demonstrate that terrorists, including Daesh, increasingly use unmanned aircraft systems for intelligence gathering and attacks. These groups' sophistication in producing small-sized and inexpensive weaponized UAS is increasing too. To address this growing concern, in December, the Counterterrorism Committee adopted the Abu Dhabi Guiding Principles. These non-binding principles are intended to guide member states in their responses to the threats posed by the use of UAS for terrorist purposes, including against critical infrastructure and soft targets, and provide a framework for United Nations entities to design appropriate capacity-building initiatives. This year, the Counterterrorism Committee also expects to adopt non-binding guiding principles on preventing, detecting, and disrupting the use for terrorist purposes of new and emerging financial technologies, as well as information and communications technologies. In light of the rapid technological advances in these fields, public-private partnerships are essential to counter the use of technologies for terrorist purposes. And this is a key finding of CTED's recent analytical brief on establishing effective public-private partnerships on countering the financing of terrorism that was launched last week. Second, ensuring accountability and justice. This year will mark 10 years since the adoption of Resolution 2178 on the prosecution, reintegration, and rehabilitation of foreign terrorist fighters. Bringing terrorists to justice is an important commitment of all United Nations partners who have continued supporting accountability efforts for the crimes committed by Daesh in Iraq and the Syrian Arab Republic, as well as in the Sahel and Maghreb, and also in Europe. The recommendations and analysis that CTED provides to member states have also increasingly focused on ensuring accountability and justice for terrorist-related crimes by applying the relevant legal frameworks and to prosecute all acts of violence committed by terrorists. The prosecution rate for sexual and gender-based violence crimes remains low, despite these types of crimes being a recurrent tactic of terrorist groups, including Daesh and its affiliates, as we have seen in Iraq, the Syrian Arab Republic, and in Nigeria. Last November, CTED published a landmark report entitled Towards Meaningful Accountability for Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Linked to Terrorism. We are grateful to Switzerland for their support in the completion of this important initiative. Madam President, as the threat posed by Daesh and its affiliates evolves and spreads, CTED will continue to cooperate closely with the member states, United Nations entities, international, regional, and sub-regional organizations, with civil society and the private sector. And I wish to reiterate the full commitment of my office to actively support this Council and its Counter-Terrorism Committee in combating terrorism in all its forms, and manifestations. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank
Madam President, Excellencies, I thank the Security Council for the opportunity to brief you today on the 18th report of the Secretary General on threat posed by Daesh to international peace and security and the United Nations effort in support of member states to counter this threat. I am pleased to be joined by Assistant Secretary General and Executive Director of Counterterrorism Committee Executive Directorate, Ms. Natalia German, to present this report, which was prepared jointly by our offices and the Analytical Support and Sanctions Monitoring Team led by Mr. Justin Hastwit. And I look forward to the briefing by the Secretary General of the International Criminal Police Organization, Mr. Jürgen Stock. Interpol is indeed a key member of our Global Counterterrorism Coordination Compact. I am very grateful to Mr. Stock for excellent cooperation. I also take this opportunity to lament the numerous casualties and human suffering caused by terrorism globally and to offer my sincere condolences to all governments and peoples affected by such violence. The tragedy, destruction, and suffering caused by terrorism should serve as a catalyst to renew international commitment to not only remedy its horrified impact, but also, and most importantly, to step up efforts to prevent such attacks in the first place. The United Nations Office of Counterterrorism will continue to work with member states to this end, including to support survivor-centered, gender-sensitive, and human rights compliant approaches to countering terrorism and preventing violent extremism conducive to terrorism. Madam President, Excellencies, while providing some additional details on its evolution, the present report reinforces the main trend observed during the past few years, that Daesh continues to pose a serious threat to international peace and security, notably in the conflict zones, despite significant progress achieved by member states in countering the threat. Such progress has translated into a sizable reduction in the group's operational capacities in some regions. The prolonged delay in announcing a new leader after the killing of his predecessor early in 2023 is assessed to reflect internal challenges and difficulties in ensuring the new leader's security. Moreover, member states' efforts to counter the financing of terrorism continue to yield tangible results. Daesh's financial reserves are currently estimated between $2 million and $25 million, down from hundreds of millions a few years ago. Beyond the Daesh core, important progress has also been achieved to counter the capacity of Daesh affiliates. In countries such as Indonesia and Malaysia, as well as Egypt and Mozambique, terrorist activity by these affiliates has been reduced by effective counterterrorism efforts by member states. In Afghanistan, efforts by the de facto authorities have reportedly had an impact on the ability of the Daesh affiliate to conduct attacks inside the country. Nevertheless, the group maintains an intention to carry out attacks abroad. Despite these important achievements, the risk of resurgence by Daesh remains. Since November, the Daesh core has increased its attacks in Iraq and the Syrian Arab Republic, attesting to its resilience and adaptability. In other parts of the world, the threat levels have been raised in several European member states, while in Southeast Asia, the Philippines have faced increasing terrorist attacks. Yet parts of Africa, notably West Africa and the Sahel, remain the most affected by the activity of Daesh and its affiliates. The situation in this region has deteriorated in the reporting period and is becoming increasingly more complex, with local ethnic and regional disputes conflating with the agenda and operations of these groups. As previously reported, Daesh affiliates continued to operate with increasingly more autonomy from the Daesh core. Should this trend of greater autonomy persist, the reports alerts to the risk that a vast area of instability may emerge from Mali to the borders of Nigeria. Countering the threat of terrorism in Africa remains a priority for the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism. The African Counterterrorism Summit, planned for April 2024, was designed to be African-led and African-owned. However, as this process couldn't yet ensure full inclusivity of all African member states, the summit had to be postponed. The Office of Counterterrorism will continue to strengthen its support to African member states and regional organizations, including through our program offices in Nairobi and Rabat. Madam President, Excellencies, while trends and developments outlined in the report are concerning, they also call for reflection and action on at least three fronts. First, the grave implications of terrorism and sometimes of counterterrorism. In addition to immense human suffering, terrorism threatens international peace and security and hampers sustainable development. Moreover, time and again, we have seen counterterrorism measures being misused or creating unintended consequences. To avoid them, it remains crucial to ensure that counterterrorism measures are grounded on international law, including international human rights and humanitarian law. Among these unintended consequences, the dire and deteriorating situation of individuals, mostly women and children, still stranded in camps and other facilities in the northeast of the Syrian Arab Republic are but one illustration. Important progress has been made in the repatriation of these individuals by a few countries in the reporting period. However, as highlighted in successive reporting, the pace of repatriations remains too slow.
Alright, sibonge baka UN labo bakhuluma ngetindzaba tekuphepha and bakhuluma nangetindzaba te-peace kuthula kulawo mave la kuso lokuchubeka khona timphi. It's 2 minutes before 8 o'clock. We've come to the end of our show today. Thank you for joining us. Kukumuta nje ukuthi Eswatini TV has launched new programs. Lafaya Kati a Business Watch, which is powered by Netbank. Idlala every Wednesday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. and also a Market Watch from 2 p.m. as well. Market View, yes. It airs on Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Yeah, indeed. So as well as an array of other programs that Eswatini TV offers you, brand new programs, exciting programs. Asakegwet, who's still under the newsroom department. The production side has the Golden Hour. It has Mbili Ganyiganye.
We have Pandestratini, we have Street Quiz, we have Brains on the Go. There's so many programs to look out for this season. And of course,
with all these programs that we're offering,
and of course, exciting news, Ekaya Season 2 is coming on Eswatini TV this year. So do make sure you watch Eswatini TV. Got YouTube, DSTV, and Kusku channel. See you tomorrow. Have a lovely day.
Budget speech tomorrow. Have a lovely day.